We're in a time in education now to find the real world learning opportunities should be a priority for everyone, whether it's bringing in folks into your classroom, but if you can help get students out of the classroom. What I'm seeing is best is connecting, whether it's a school district has someone that does that for you, that will reach out and create these partnerships so you have some starting point. And it goes from everything from restaurants to construction companies to tech companies, but it's reaching out to see if, are you willing to host students? Are you willing to have interns? Are you willing to give us a tour, a guided tour? The two work together. Industry needs education and education needs industry. So I think seeing it from that perspective is the best way to look at it.
Hello and welcome to the Future is Clear Teach Like It's 2045 webcast series. My name is Scott Carr from CESA 2, and today's topic area is what's needed to build authentic and strategic partnerships between businesses and school districts. Joining us today is my good friend Sylvester Chisom, founder and CEO of Global CTE Learning. Let me give you a little information about Sylvester. Sylvester is a leading voice in the world of career and technical education, serving as the CEO and founder of Global CTE Learning, an online platform dedicated to providing high-quality CTE curriculum and instruction. Sylvester is a passionate advocate for empowering students with the skills and knowledge they need to succeed in the modern workforce. He is also an author of 4 best-selling books, along with being a top public speaker. Sylvester's commitment to CTE extends beyond his work with Global CTE Learning, as he is also a co-founder of the Show Me the World project. He is a prominent figure in the CTE community, hosting the #1 career tech podcast, Global CTE Podcast, of which I can certainly vouch for. Good to have you along, Sylvester. Nice to see you.
Thanks.
How are you doing?
All is well. I'm super excited to join you on your platform, to connect with all the education leaders across the state of Wisconsin. And I think this is very important and valuable work that you're putting forth here with this webcast series.
Yeah. I know you do. You've put a lot of time into it consistently. Your podcast is the #1. I truly believe that. I was able to meet Sylvester just this last summer, of which I think I hijacked your pretty much your whole list of podcast guests that you've had. You've become a good friend. I certainly appreciate when I did reach out, you're willing to connect me with more people. So I really do appreciate it.
Oh, no, thanks, man. Look, when I get ready for the Global CTE Symposium, I know who to call to help.
Yeah, I definitely be there for you. Definitely. So let's kind of get rocking and rolling here. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You're definitely a true visionary, thought leader, innovator. Give us your journey. How did you get where you're at right now?
Okay, thanks for asking. So for me, it starts really with my mother as an entrepreneur, a single parent who put 2 kids through college as a single mother and as an entrepreneur. Working in the CTE space from a career standpoint, my mother's a professional cosmetologist. She's owned her own hair salon since I was a little baby,
Wow.
And what I find so special and inspiring about her is that she knew what she wanted to do from the age of 12. So she was a little kid braiding hair on the stoop in front of her house,
Wow.
making her own money.
Wow.
And she knew that's what she wanted to do and committed to it. And as a kid, I grew up in this environment, in this hair salon, sweeping the floor. 5 years old, I'm walking ladies to their car, like I'm some sort of security or something, but answering the phone. And I grew up in this entrepreneurial environment that led me to owning my own business. My best friend and I started a car wash business when we were seniors in high school, called Showroom Shine. And we actually worked that business through college, and we ended up finding success with it. And when it came time to graduate, myself from The Ohio State University
Nice.
with the degree in biology,
Nice.
with thoughts of being a dentist. Entrepreneurship was really the thing for me. And I saw we had built this car wash business, and we took it to heights, to some pretty good heights, and we had airport car washes, and we ended up winning
Wow.
this thing Steve Harvey together called the Neighborhood Awards that recognize like the best businesses across the country. And so for best car washes, best restaurants, if you've ever gone to Kansas City, like Gates Barbecue or places like that,
Mm.
that are, famous businesses in the African American community. We won that 4 years in a row for the
Wow.
best detail shop in the nation, and put us in rooms that I would never have anticipated, with hanging out with people like Kevin Hart and Patti LaBelle, all because of a car wash business we created. And
Wow.
here's the thing. So from that, I received a lot of attention. We were in the Wall Street Journal for companies that use social media, um, Ebony Magazine, Top Young Entrepreneurs. So I decided to write a book, Scott, called The Young Entrepreneur's Guide to Success. I don't know if you know this
Wow.
part of the story. So, and this was just as a way people continue to ask me, like, I have this idea, Sylvester. I have this idea, because they're seeing me as this entrepreneur in this space, right? And so I'm like, well, what if I wrote a book to my 17-year-old self?
Wow.
And I called it The Young Entrepreneur's Guide to Success. That worked. I had no idea there was a thing called CTE, but call it serendipity, a God moment. School started asking me to come and talk to their students at the same time. So then a school teacher, a business teacher, asked, "Hey, I like what you're doing. I want to order 30 copies of your book." And I was like, wow, I hadn't thought about selling the books to schools.
Wow.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that was a thing. It's like, yeah, well, there's this thing I submitted your name for the Missouri CTE State Conference to talk. And sure enough, the state called, and then here we are at speaking at the Missouri Career Tech Education Conference. And then I find out there's a regional governing body, and then there's a
Mhm.
national conference.
Yeah.
And then from there, it steamrolled. And from that book, it went to the Young Entrepreneur's Guide to Success 2.0. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And then that led to more speaking and connecting with schools and CTE departments across the country, from South Dakota to North Carolina to Maine, to having
Mm.
our curriculum. Then that the books led into curriculum of saying, well, what would an entire semester look like this? Where I only come from an experiential background of learning by doing. I believe that's the best way. So that's just how I naturally think about creating content and curriculum. And then that turned into our $50 startup youth entrepreneurship curriculum that's used in school districts. Went over 600 school districts across the
Wow.
country, digital marketing curriculum. And we also have credentials connected to those curriculums. Yeah, man, that's how I get here. And from moving around, the podcast comes about because I'm seeing cool people doing amazing things in silos all
Yeah.
across the country. And I'm like, well, what if my friends in Georgia knew what my friends in Seattle were doing? Like, how can I share and be a resource to the community?
Yeah, you certainly have been. That's for sure, man. You've really helped. Like I said before, you've helped me with a lot of networking. How long ago was that?
The
Where you
podcast?
started Well, no, where you started speaking in
Oh,
schools and support,
2009. Yeah,
2009?
nine. Yeah,
Wow, wow,
2009.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, 2009. So it's been a very organic journey of word of mouth, going to different places, connecting with the community, and building relationships in the education space.
Yeah. How about Global CTE Podcast? When did that
That's
get off the ground?
about 2.5. Yeah, we're about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the crazy part about it, Scott, which is what why I'm so inspired you're doing this. I sat on, I started the podcast 2.5 years ago. I had the idea to do the podcast probably 5, 6 years ago. And I didn't do it, So I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's something special. One of my favorite Steve Jobs quotes is to ship it, right? And like the success, the opportunity you're looking for is on the other side of you shipping your ideas,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
And so it's like you can't
Yeah.
there are opportunities for you that are waiting on you, but they don't come until after you create the webcast series, or or after
Yeah.
I create the I don't meet you if I don't create the podcast, right?
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
I mean, so
That's
it's
true.
yeah, so that's something I
Pretty
really
deep, but it's true, man. It makes a lot of sense as you're saying that. I'm sitting here going, yeah. If I didn't, I mean, I work for a collaborative agency, as you know, and I was at one prior to the one I'm at now. And if I didn't take that step, I wouldn't be maybe as advanced in the work that I'm doing. But yeah, great point. Great point. I've right. Obviously, I said this before. I've connected with a ton of the people that you've had on your podcasts. I mean, even dating back, 2 years, 2 years back, I've reached out to a few, and that to me is a really a key piece of us moving this work forward, is that networking opportunity.
no, it absolutely is. I think I've seen success stories where, like what you're saying, the podcast can also be used as a resource to see like, oh, there's a school that is 100% competency based, and this is
Mhm.
how they're doing it, and they're connecting credentials with the local job market, that is, the jobs that the local job market are looking for. They're all working in partnership, and someone in another city or state may have a similar idea, and when they hear that, it reaffirms it, or it gives them um, some proof text to show
Right.
to the superintendent or to city leaders or whoever you're trying to get on board. Like, we won't be the first doing this. There are other people doing something similar. We can use them as a guidepost. And
Yeah.
I think us having a thriving learning community in this space, as the world of business is moving so fast, technology is moving so fast, and industries are changing. Like, we need to hear from the voices that are at the forefront, so that education can make sure that we're preparing our students for success in the global marketplace.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. I've used a ton of clips from your podcasts, whether it be working with school boards, or the first startup with working with teachers to try to revision their thinking a little bit. And yeah, I've used a ton of them. The last one both of the last two guests that you've had, Zachary Johnson, I think his school-based enterprise is phenomenal. And I'm like, I took that, I put that also in my newsletter, but I shipped that out to a few buddies of mine that are principals. And I said, you need to listen to this, because this is how you need to do it.
Yeah, no, it is. And then
Great stuff.
I love the level of collaboration there with the university as well.
Yeah.
So school district, community. For anyone
Yeah.
who's listening and not familiar, Zachary has a coffee shop in North Kansas City schools, public schools. The school district bought a retail strip mall, and they put a coffee shop in it, and it's student ran. So students begin their day at the coffee shop. They're learning skills, they're learning business and activating those skills.
Um,
And then they also receive 3 credit hours from University of Missouri, Kansas City for entrepreneurship. Yeah.
yeah. Super cool how it's legit in the community. It's an
Mhm.
actual business in the school. Yeah. And the students are running it. But so let me move on to this, because I think this is really kind of key, and I want to get your take on it. So, why, there's, you're hearing a ton out there, a lot of innovative thoughts on your podcast. Why the need to change our educational system?
I'll start from the industry standpoint that um, success in business is a moving target. What worked yesterday won't work today, and won't work tomorrow, right? And so we cannot have an education system that is preparing students for opportunities that are no longer relevant or will be lesser opportunities in the future, right? If we want to prepare our students to be the next generation of leaders, of community leaders, of leaders of industry, then we have to prepare them with the right tools in whatever industry, whatever that local job market is looking for, the careers of the future, the careers of now and the future. I have an opening slide in some of my presentations I do. I start with a slide. If you can picture this, Scott, I have a gas light, a gas lamp lighter. I have a massive projectionist, like old school movie screen projector thing on the slide. I have telephone operators, where you have to move the needles, and I show, like, at one point we were preparing people for these careers. These were the careers of now: a gas lamp lighter, a telephone operator, or a projectionist. Like today, that's shifted. Like, it's something connected to AI, or you can shoot a movie on your cell phone like today. Or when you think about gas lamp lighter, it's solar, it's advanced manufacturing in those kinds of ways, or thinking about nuclear fusion or whatever it is. But we need to be preparing our students for the careers of now and of the future. And we cannot be loyal to old ways that no longer serve us. And I feel like a lot of times education is the last thing to change, as from the mass standpoint. You'll have the people out on the edge, on the fringe, who are like, we're rewriting, we're redoing the whole thing. But I think the larger body of education should try to move a little faster to what is relevant now and in the future.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. And I actually, on the way here, I was listening to one of your podcasts, and you made that same exact statement. And I actually put in my phone, you can't stay loyal to old ways. You have to change because things are moving so quickly. Yeah. Right. And that's when I was listening to you and Sandra Adams talk about it, and you talked about being agile. Right. And those are all like durable skills.
100%.
Right. Very interesting. It's cool.
And I like to listen to the top innovators, like the Sam Altmans of OpenAI, Eli. I just like to hear how people are thinking about what how they see the future. And it's interesting. I heard Sam Altman say that the CEO of OpenAI, and he was talking about the big skills of the future are like critical thinking,
right,
agility, and communication. And if you're thinking about things in that way, it's like, how are we preparing our students for success? Like, where's that showing up in your curriculum, whether it's math, whether it's construction, cybersecurity, whatever the class, English, like, how's that showing up?
Right. But let's talk a little bit about that, because it's kind of been that big hurdle, historically, how our system has evolved. Maybe the intention wasn't for it to be designed that way. Right. I think the Carnegie unit has a little bit to do with this, but they're even thinking about how to shift. Right. I mean, we're all in that. We need to shift. We need to figure this out. Let's talk a little bit about the what. So what are you seeing in regards, right? CTE, work-based learning, career readiness. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What's happening out there in our schools that we're seeing this great work take off? What's it look like?
Are you asking for like you want some examples of people who are
Sure.
doing something interesting and
Yeah, anything.
um
Yeah. Like what you've
yeah,
heard. What is that?
there's
What does
a
it look like?
so there's a I like this example. I've become more curious about it. I had the New York Harbor School on the podcast. So there's a school in New York City that's on the harbor, and students are like out on boats every day, like working the harbor. They have this massive project, the Billion Oyster Project, where
Mm,
students are somehow using oysters in some kind of like symbiotic relationship with, you know, with maybe it's the algae or something out there, but it's like really taking science and putting it into action, and they're living in it. But even more than that, there's what they call in the maritime industry, um, a lot of people are retiring, right? So they have a lot of people retiring in this maritime industry, and that's think about the shipping where all our goods come through on all these vessels, and these are good paying jobs, 60 to $100,000 paying jobs. The students are receiving certifications
wow.
starting in their sophomore year of high school at this place, and it's connected to, like, you have the port authority connected with the school, with the education system. So these kids can come out of this school and walk right into family sustaining wages and careers straight out of high school in the maritime industry. So it's something that I find interesting that's reflective of the current opportunity that exists in terms of the job market, careers, and things like that in the local community. And it's part of how you create a thriving community, with people staying and being well and gainfully employed. So I think that's one for me that really stands out. And I like the relationships that are happening there. Yeah.
Yeah. I know you've talked a little bit, and I'm sure you see this a lot about aligning students to their personal interests, professional interests, and their passions, kind of aligning that together. It's really a big part of the work that I do when I get into schools, is to start to help teachers in classrooms move towards that, right? When you can get a kid to connect to their passions, but also to a career interest, just seems like that relevance just takes off. So what are some thoughts around that? How do we help students discover their passions? How do we connect them to, their career paths?
Yeah, I like that. You're making me think about like if you've ever heard the Japanese philosophy of ikigai,
Yeah,
like
yeah, use it. Yeah, I like
yeah,
it.
like lining up all of that stuff, what you're good at, connecting to like what you love, what the world needs,
Right.
and what you can be paid for, and you find that synergy. Um, I'm a firm believer that we should start with the interest first,
Mm,
right? I feel like you can find extraordinary levels of success in any career field or any industry or any opportunity. So it's for the person to figure out, well, how how do I see myself in the work? And I think that's part of
mm,
that early exposure for in our school systems to show people different examples of success, different industries. Oh, you like math? Let me show you careers connected to it. You like science? Let me introduce you to biotech, or oh, you like numbers, or maybe cybersecurity, whatever it is, but showing them different ways that their passions can show up in the form of uh, work, so that a student can be excited about it or reject it and say, you know what, this is not for me, right? And so I think if you're thinking about finding ways that things you're passionate about, I like a couple of things. I like to say, what are your superpowers? This is
mm.
something all of us can either reflect on ourselves or to share with, if any educators on the call thinking about working with their students. What are your superpowers? You know, what comes easy to you that other folks are challenged with. And then a fun one, you know, if you have a dog, you know, I like this example. What's your tennis ball, right? You know how your dog, you'll throw that tennis ball, he'll run, he'll go get it, he'll bring it back, you run, he'll go get it, bring it, he'll do that all day and lose track of time. Why? Because it's something that the dog has found joy and excitement in. And it's like, what's that thing that you get lost in? Like you're not concerned about time anymore. Um, that that's a signal to you. These are my passions. These are my interests because
Yeah.
no one told me to sit here and play this video game for 5 hours, you know? But
Yeah.
then like
So,
let's move to
yeah.
the other side and show, well, like video games, is video game design. You could make controllers. You could work for a video game company. There's graphics, you know,
Right.
like all these show start with the interest and lead there. And I try to do that with my own kids. You know, it's
Yeah.
like what they're interested in. It's like, okay, let's nurture that some more. Like let's find you some other areas to expose you to um, you know, at a higher level.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. You know, I got to tell you though, I've got a 170-pound English Mastiff, and he sometimes won't even get up off the ground to go chase a ball. So, but he'll kiss you all night long if you want. Good dog.
Hey, well, maybe
Oh.
maybe your dog should write a romance novel then.
Probably. He's a good dog though.
Oh, that's funny.
Uh, I'm sure you've seen the new advanced CTE career wheel. Have you seen some of that at the center of it? They've got this purpose-driven kind of where it guides learners towards those clusters. Have you seen the new wheel at all?
I've seen it. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, along the lines of what we're talking about here, at some point we have to interject and go, okay, where's the connection to your passions, your interests, your likes? I think one of the best things that CTE, advanced CTE did is they put in the middle there, that purpose-driven approach. How do you see this being developed in schools? You know, where can we push this forward in our school system so it's not just happening in a CTE class or in a career class?
I think there's a way. First off, I believe in the interdisciplinary approach.
Mhm.
So finding whatever you're teaching or leading in the school system, finding a way to um, incorporate other subject matters. I think it's easy for us to incorporate passions and interests um, in any subject matter. You know, like you'll be more excited to write something that you maybe had some choice and voice in, right? So, but I think interest assessments would help finding a space to put that into your curriculum somewhere or to the school day so people can have a greater knowledge of self. I think that's important, like to understand who you are, what you like, your skills, um, your life experiences, what problems do you get excited about? You know, what bothers you and gets you pumped up and trying to find a way to use that to guide you to
Mhm.
uh, career exploration because that moves it from when you connect with that why,
Mhm.
you have a greater appreciation for what it is that you're doing. You know why you're working on this project or why it's important to you. Um, and that's a better starting point than I think sometimes you see it. It's like, oh, people just jump into these careers, but it's like, well, who is this person? And let's
Mhm.
try to find careers that are in alignment with who you are. And it's okay if you don't like something, then let's keep going. It's not anything about you. It just means that we haven't found the right fit yet. Because when you do find the right fit, then that self-motivation really kicks in, you know?
Mhm. We with the work and it's kind of exploding a little bit, I think, where it's taking off in our state. But we do a lot of this work right down to the kindergarten level.
It's good.
Yeah, what are your thoughts around that? Like, what can it look like? Is that a fair starting point where we can bring some awareness to our youth?
Yeah. Oh no, I think the earlier the better.
Yeah.
I really do. I think the earlier the better, and because then it really gets, you have an opportunity to really get that ingrained into the subconscious, So it's like the earlier you start, the earlier you can find like who you are and what your interests
Yeah.
are, then the better off you'll be. Like what I was saying with my mother, like she was 12 and she knew she wanted to be a hairstylist. And this is, you'll get a kick out of this. This is a long time ago, Scott. She my mother was, so she's in middle school, and there's no internet. So I don't know where she uncovered this, but she found out that you didn't you only needed a middle school uh education, like eighth grade
Wow. Wow.
education, to go to cosmetology school. So she was like, I
Wow.
don't need it. She was trying to go pro out of middle school, you know? Like my grandmother's like, no, sweetheart, you are going to finish high school. But I think that's a good example to me. Like if like she loves
Right.
what she does every day still today. She still loves working in the hair care industry. Um, and that's a passion that started when she was 12. She was fully self-actualized in that, like her pride, her confidence, and to see even from a place of
Mm.
economic upward mobility, was able to put, as a single parent, she put myself and my younger sister through
Wow.
college,
That's
like as an
amazing.
as an entrepreneur. So like that's CTE. That's something that's part of it for me. Also, this conversation that's important, man, is like shifting that narrative of like these career tech education careers, or studies. It's noble work. It is noble work, and it is work that can elevate families, right? And it's not just
Yeah.
sometimes how the narrative can get thrown out that, um, oh, it's just for the kids who may be struggling, or like they're
Mhm.
not going to go to college. It's like, no, you should go to college if that's necessary for your interest. But man, there's so many great opportunities out here that are connected, through our
Right.
CTE community. Yeah.
It's funny, your story resonates with me a little bit. With my daughter, she was as early as fourth, fifth grade. She'd come home and turn her little a room in our basement into a little classroom, and she'd teach to little Build-A-Bears and American Girl dolls. And I'd hear her down there, and I'd walk down and she'd say, "Dad, will you be the principal?" And I'd say, "Sure. What do we got going on in here?" And she'd go over to Build-A-Bear and grab him by the arm and bring him over. And she'd say, "He's being naughty. He's got to go up to the principal's office." And lo and behold, right now she's at UW Milwaukee in her last year. She wants to become a first, second grade teacher, and works at an inner city family and youth center right now for an after day program, and works with some really tough kids.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really interesting. Sometimes we put a lid on our kids, our students, our children, and say, right, when they're career ready, we should almost cut them loose. And that also reminds me of when I was working in alternative ed or special ed. A
Hmm.
lot of the students we had were career ready. Yet
Hmm.
we have all these hoops they have to jump through first,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of the way the system goes. But let me ask you this, shifting gears just a little bit, but um, career connections for students in aligning our students to opportunities in our with our business partners within our communities. Talk a little bit about the importance there, some things that you've seen, what works.
Yeah, I think we're in a in we're in a time in education now, to find the real world learning opportunities
Mhm.
should be a priority for everyone, whether it's bringing in, folks into your classroom, but even greater, I challenge if you can help get students out of the classroom. to tap into, more unique place-based learning opportunities. I think it's for what I'm seeing is best is connecting, whether it's a school district has someone that does that for you, that will reach out and create these partnerships, so you have some starting point. That's always nice, where there's someone who's dedicated to partnerships. A good friend of mine in New York City public schools, he's over there, and their industry partnerships are crazy. And it goes from everything from restaurants to construction companies to tech companies, but it's reaching out to see if, are you willing to host students? Are you willing to have interns? Are you willing to give us a tour, a guided tour? Are you willing to have a job shadow or bring someone in? Because the two work together. Like, industry needs education and education needs industry. So I think seeing it from that perspective is the best way to look at it.
Yeah.
And I had a gentleman on from South Dakota, from a CTE school principal, and I asked him a similar question. He said, "Man, I'm literally driving in my car and I'm looking at the businesses and I'm just stopping in and introducing myself."
Wow.
And I know that may be a little extroverted for some, but that's really what, it's really that simple. There's no way you stop and ask. If you challenge yourself and say, I'm going to ask 5 business people or companies to help in some way, is there a problem our students could work on and present to you, or can we come and do a tour, a job shadow or something? There's no way you're not going to at least get 2 or 3 of those to say yes.
Right.
Just, yeah.
Good problem solving skills ourselves by being able to think outside the box.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the creativity behind it. How about, I think we got enough time to talk a little bit about this. It's, I know you're a big advocate around competency-based learning in this area. How do we see it? How can we move away from, right? The focus is on grades, letter grades, a system that emphasizes that, to, a more competency-based approach.
Yeah. I think starting with the skill first, like what skills are we trying to teach here in this particular class or in this particular subject. So that kind of naturally brings you have to bring a project-based learning approach or experiential learning to that, right? In order to activate a skill, like you have to do something, more learning by doing. And then from there, figuring out, what's the criteria that represents, foundational knowledge achievement here, or, what's that look like, so that you can address it in that way and still find a way to work within whatever grading system you currently have, right? Because I'm seeing people take that approach. Like, for some classes, well, this class is more about verifiable work. Like, what'd you create? Like in I'll say this, in our entrepreneurship curriculum. So we have a credential connected to it. It's all competency-based learning. So it's like, where is your business model canvas? Did you create that? Where's your pitch deck? Like, I want to see, where's the video of you delivering said pitch? Or where's your elevator pitch, your short form version? Or do you have, are there photos or video of you actually selling your product at the pop-up shop or selling event? When you have verifiable work, that helps to track some competency, or some skill was attained in some type of way, if you're thinking about ways to find assessments and things like that. Yep, yep. So for me is taking that approach. If you're within a system that's not changing in terms of A, B, C, D, F,
Right.
but if you are thinking about redoing the whole process, whether it's at a school, a particular school, I see it more so in that fashion versus like full districts, just like we're wiping this thing out, but like this school here is particularly competency based. Um, it may be a little easier, especially if you're connecting like credentials or something to it.
Yeah. Which does make it a little bit easier, a little more opportunistic to kind of reach for, and that kind of brings in the durable skills. I know you're a big part of that. America Succeeds and durable skills. Where do you see that fitting in that larger picture?
Larger picture in what way?
Well, how do we see schools embrace durable skills in a way that we're not adding them necessarily just to a curriculum, that we can see durable skills being built within our schools on a daily manner.
Yeah, I think you could take some different approaches of layering it in to what you're already doing, whatever the course is, especially like career connected courses, CTE
Mm-hmm.
courses, is super easy. But the biggest part in that case is calling out said skill.
Mm,
Like right now, Sylvester, you have to do an interview with Scott. We're working on our
mm,
communication and
mm-hmm.
critical thinking skills. It's like, so like it's being called
Right,
out, right? Whether I'm already naturally a good communicator or I'm this is something I'm still working on, calling it out so that I know that's what I'm doing, right? Or you all are working on this group project today. This is highlighting the durable skill of collaboration or teamwork, right? Or we're doing our breathing exercises or something. We're working on our mindfulness, like, or um, you have to do multiple things
mm-hmm.
and it all has to get done in a certain time. So, okay, we're working on our metacognition. So I think calling out the durable skills is an important factor so that that you're working on it. Or if you're spotting it, being intentional about calling
Right,
it out. So someone understands that, like, how you just told him we're out of the we're out of the small cups. So just if someone orders a small, just fill the large cup up halfway. Like that was critical thinking, which
right, right.
they're not, that's problem solving. They're not thinking of it in that way, but showing them that so that students can recognize it. I think that's possible. And then also you can create exercises or activities around the durable skills that are connected to your curriculum, like choosing a particular skill to focus on, maybe
Mm,
one a day, and you take 5 or 10 minutes to create some activity where it's highlighted in context of your subject matter. I think those are some powerful ways of integration.
yeah, great ideas. We and some of the work I've been doing with teachers, we print it off and allow them to become aware of it is even a nice introduction to get started.
Yeah,
Some fun activities we do with it, and I've done this with a school board, is check or highlight all of the ones that you have. So there's 100, right? And sometimes you get a few people who say, well, I'm close to all of them, and I'm thinking, I don't know. That's And then one of the opportunities that we were in working with the school board, the superintendent was there, and I said, how many of these do you think your valedictorian had as they walked out the door last year?
yeah,
A little bit of a chuckle, and maybe 20 to 25.
yeah.
So it kind of gives us a representation of our school system a little bit around some of that work.
I think that, Scott, but then also I think I take the approach, and I was telling Tim this, the president of America Succeeds. We're all on a lifelong journey
Yeah.
of seeking mastery in these skills.
Right.
Like
Right.
we're all still working to improve our communication skills. Like
Right.
whether
Exactly.
that's written, whether that's email. Like if someone recently has done something nice for you, did you take the time to write them a handwritten thank you
Mhm.
card and put it in the
Mhm.
mail? No,
Mhm.
you didn't. So like there's still room, there's still
Right.
there's
Right.
still room for improvement, like to be a
Always.
master communicator at the highest level. And the same thing for any of those other skills, teamwork. We're still working on being great team members. But the foundational knowledge of it, like we
Yeah.
definitely should be introducing this work and these skills um to our students, like earlier,
Yeah.
and often and frequently, and calling it out. I think that's a big part.
Yeah, definitely. It's about upskilling, right? Upskilling, like they say, upskilling and reskilling really is a big key piece of it. Let
Yeah.
me, we have a little time left. I kind of want to get your take on this. So, this shift has been a big part of kind of the work that I start with school districts, and it takes us about a year to really get that mindset shift. But
Mhm.
how do we do this? How can we cultivate a culture of innovation, problem solving, and shifting our current educational system to more than just achievement focused driven type schools? What are your thoughts?
That's a great question. Um,
Maybe that's book 5.
it could be.
We
That's a
write it together.
Yeah, let's do it because that's an uphill battle. But I think it starts with controlling what you can control from whatever position you're in, um, as a classroom teacher,
Yeah.
principal, superintendent, assistant superintendent. Try to have, if that's a desired outcome to make that shift, then we have to take an approach of being open-minded and rethinking things, not running away
Mhm.
from things and saying, shut down the AI. No one can use it. Like,
Right.
let's think about it. How can we um properly use this? And let's be okay with sometimes we may make some mistakes as we're trying to innovate. Like there's no 100% success rate in innovation. There are a lot of failed attempts and products. I mean, we see it in education all the time.
Mhm. Definitely
But
do.
so I think having that mindset, that growth mindset of I want uh to best serve our students. If you keep the students at the center of it, then that challenges us to think, well, how are we best serving these students? What do they need? What are the opportunities that are in front of them?
Right.
And how can we best prepare them? How can we best support them? How can we connect them? Right? How can we best educate them? So I think that's a that changes every day. It's a challenge, as the world is moving forward. I think we have to, if you keep that mindset like of innovation and open-mindedness and that growth mindset, I think that helps because the people making the decisions for what's going to be taught in the class or what's the environment going to be like in the school, they need to have that open-minded
Yeah.
approach.
Well, I got a good name for our book.
What is it? What is it?
You can't stay loyal to old ways.
No, no, you cannot. You cannot stay loyal to old ways
Yep.
that no longer serve you. Um, from a from a from a biblical standpoint, no old wine in new skins. So we have to what's next. And I think that's a lesson. That's a lesson from the pandemic, man. That's a lesson from the pandemic. Like that's a key one that we have to be agile and adaptability, open-minded. We can't just, oh, this is how we do it, and that's that. It's like, no, like how can we make this better? What if every day you come to work and you challenge yourself to be better today than I was yesterday?
Yeah.
You look up and by the end of the semester, man, you're a totally different leader. Like
Yeah.
what if I was kinder to people? What if I what if I was I listened a little more to the people that are under me, right? What if I listen to their ideas? What if I give them a little more freedom to test some things, to try some things? Then you find yourself in a different place.
Yeah. Well said, my man.
Thanks.
Hey, before we head out of here on down the road and get home, tell us a little bit about what's on the horizon for you. Anything new? Anything happening?
Yeah, well, coming up, speaking at the Aurora Institute conference in New Orleans. So we'll be talking about those durable skills, employability skills. So
Yeah.
that's hot on the radar right now. Um, yeah, just more podcasts, more content. We're working on taking the podcast and creating some professional development opportunities around it.
Cool.
So we're thinking about doing some things there. That's been something that a lot of people have been requesting. So yeah, just trying to add more value to the community. Yeah.
Yeah, you always have to iterate and right and innovate. So good for you. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. I just want to put a plug in as we come to the end here. We've got, and I've asked you to get involved, and I know you can't, but love to have you there. But we're having that unconference in April. I may reach out to you, see if you do a little 30-second video for me to promote it if you can. I know the
Okay.
last time we talked, you really appreciated kind of what we're trying to do, but
Yeah.
we've got some great speakers coming in. We've got the CAPS network coming in, who is a connection that you helped me with. So I appreciate
Who do you
that.
have come? Who's coming? Nate or
Nate, yeah,
Nate? Okay.
Nate. One
Yeah,
of the
Nate's
things,
great.
yeah, good guy. One of the things we got going on is because they're invested in our state. We got District C coming in too. Dan's coming.
Oh, really? Okay, I like it.
Yep,
I like
and
it.
NAF is
Okay,
also gonna come
good.
in, and we've got a lot of school districts that are working with those organizations. So we're gonna be able to showcase kind of the things that they're doing. So we're really excited
Exciting.
about it. But yeah,
Yeah, that's
this
awesome, Scott.
yeah, I appreciate it. I'm hoping a little nervous as we get closer each day. I'm kind of itching away, going, okay, I'm getting a little more nervous here, but
Yeah,
uh, if nothing else, it's going to be a great time with some great sharing of ideas and some things that have been going on. So
yeah, I like it, man. As long as I know you're assembling great people, and so I know it's going to be an insightful time. A lot of great learning will happen for sure.
yeah, appreciate it. So final question, I'd like to ask you, in our tag, it's the future is clear. Teach like it's 2045. So what do you feel education will look like in 2045, or even better, what should it look like in 2045?
Okay, 2045. So
I'll be pretty old then, my man.
it's 20, what's that, 21 years from now?
Yeah, about 20 years.
So I think I see skills being centered at the forefront of our approach to education. Um, I see credentials as the new primary source of, is this person hireable or not? I think that's going to be running close to neck and neck with the 4-year college degree, if
Mhm.
not having surpassed that by that point. And I feel that way because I feel like industry is moving to a place of thinking about what skills do I need for said job or career,
Mhm.
and how can I, when we figure out on the other side, education side, credentials, skills tracking, verifiable work, learning employment records, figuring that stuff out where it lines up with what the employer is looking for, then it creates another level of economic upward mobility for people who may not have the 4-year college degree, or may not even be interested in that, but they have the skills that are desired for the employer. And I also see educators being paid more. I see.
Bless your heart.
Hey, this is my dream, right? Educators being paid more and fully being recognized as the high status, noble
Mm,
profession that it is, because none of us would be here. None of us with success or means would be here if it were not for some great educators along the way. So I think that's a powerful point too.
yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. I'm sure all of our listeners and our educators do too, because you are spot on. You're spot
Yeah.
on. So, hey, thanks for joining us today. If people would want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
You can visit my website, sylvesterchisom.com, or if you search for the Global CTE Podcast on any channel, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you watch your podcast, you can find us there, or find me on LinkedIn. I'm active on there as well, Sylvester Chisom, and I look forward to connecting with everyone. I hope that the conversation today was valuable.
Sure was. We'll definitely get you into our state at some point, Sylvester. I really appreciate you taking the time. Appreciate you getting to know you and becoming virtual friends with you.
My man, Scott, thank you for having me.
You betcha. As we depart, remember the future is clear. Take care, everybody.